So you're thinking about moving to Boston, Massachusetts, and you're wondering what it's like to live here? Well, it's time to open up Pandora's box. Whether you're been wanting to move here, you're moving here because of work, or you like the history, or you're looking for some variation in the seasons, we're going to be covering 5 pros and cons of living in Boston and the greater Boston area. What's up, everybody? My name is Rui A Coelho with eXp Realty in the greater Boston area. If this is the first time on the channel and you want to know everything about sleeping, working, playing, pros and cons about Boston and the greater Boston area, you found the spot. Honestly, we get so many phone calls in about people relocating, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving, relocating, coming here to stay, changing to different cities, you gotta reach out to us. Shoot us a text, give us a phone call, an email, however you want to reach out to us. We got you back when moving to Boston and the greater Boston area. Now let's go to the first topic. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Let's start with our first con. In my opinion, our first con, it's gotta be what you face with every day: the traffic. Now, just like any major city, you're going to run in some traffic. Whether it's in the morning going into work, in the afternoon leaving work. If you're trying to go north to the beaches, and you're going to be sitting in traffic in the weekends too. It's hard to avoid. You're in a huge metropolitan area. A lot of people work in the city. There's a lot of businesses in the city. There's a lot of universities in the city. So you're gonna be running into a lot of other vehicles. Now that brings us to our first pro: public transportation. Some of the more popular public transportation is the subway, also known as the T, but we also have water taxis,
I also want to mention
buses,
the Blue
and
Bikes
trains.
program. Blue Bikes is Metro Boston's public bike share program. They have over 3,000 bikes, more than 300 stations across Boston proper, Arlington, Brookline, Cambridge, Newton, Revere, Salem. So anywhere close to Boston, if you want to be able to take a bike ride, to do your own sort of private tour, that's available to you. They charge either per trip, or you can buy a annual program as well. They're just, it's a really great thing. You guys should probably check out. I'll put the link to the website in the description.
But the rail system, the buses, and the subways makes coming to and from Boston an absolute breeze. It can be a little bit overwhelming if you're new to the area, but it doesn't take too long to get used to the map, the systems, and be able to get in and out of Boston without any troubles. Now let's get to the second con of the day, and that is cost of living. The median household price in Boston, Massachusetts is about $600,000, but that can range greatly depending on where in the city you're living, how close you are to other businesses. It can get pretty crazy out there. Now, if you're thinking about renting, you're going to have some stiff competition as well. Renting, let's say, a 1-bedroom apartment in Boston proper, you're probably looking at about $18,000 to $2,000 a month just for the unit. Maybe that includes some utilities, but you're not going to get much out of that. You're not going to get a parking space. You're not going to get any sort of landscaping outside for yourself. Basically, you're going to be renting a box with a room or two attached off of it. If you're a bigger family and you need 3 or 4 bedrooms, you're going to be pushing above $3,000, close to $4,000, depending on where you are in Boston, the type of unit it is, if you're in a big complex or not. So you definitely got to do your homework when you're moving to Boston. Now compare that to, let's say, Portland, Oregon, where the median home cost in Portland would be about $420,000. So that's about $180,000 less than Boston. But let's get a little bit closer to home, and if we compare Boston to a neighboring city, Cambridge, you can see that Cambridge is significantly more expensive for the median home price. Now, the reason for that is Boston has a lot of neighborhoods, and that helps bring down the average. Some of the neighborhoods that are under the Boston blanket include Brighton, Allston, Charlestown, Dorchester, Southie, which is what we call South Boston, Mattapan, Hyde Park, Roxbury, Roslindale, JP, which is Jamaica Plain, and several other more. Now, our second pro of the video is going to be the job opportunities here. We have everything from medical, education, financial, technology. Some of the biggest names in the country that have offices here are Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Pfizer, Fidelity Investments. You name it, we have it. Now, the next con is going to be kind of a surprise to some of you, but the weather. Our winters here are absolutely horrendous. On average, the snowfall for Boston is about 48 inches, compared to the whole United States at just under 28. Now, that's the average. In December 2020, we smashed our previous record in Boston from 6 inches all the way up to 12.5 inches in one snowfall. So winters, needless to say, can get absolutely crazy. So you gotta dress in layers. You gotta be prepared. If you own a car in the city, be prepared to dig out your spot and be fighting over places to park because it can get pretty nasty. Now, moving over to the spring, I like our springs here. We get a ton of rain in the beginning, and then it sort of switches gears pretty quickly into summer. So you don't get much of a spring, but you're gonna get at least 5 days of really nice spring, typical spring weather. That brings us to our next pro, the weather. I know what you're gonna say. I just said the weather was a con, but I'm telling you guys, the summers and the falls here are absolutely incredible. Our beaches, we have so many beaches, whether you want to stay locally to Boston, if you want to go a little bit more north. Because of the transit systems, you can move around pretty quickly. Highway access is incredible. You can get all the way up to Maine fairly quickly within a few hours, if you want to go to a few Maine beaches. Now, our falls are absolutely gorgeous. The colors that come from the trees, we have a ton of orchards here, so apple picking, pumpkin picking is huge. And then once you get into the Halloween season, you can drive up to the Salem, visit all the historical stuff about the Salem witch trials, get spooked out a little bit, spook your kids. There's a ton to do in both the summer and the fall time of the year. Now let's cover our fourth con. And this is more of my choice. It's not going to be the same for everybody, so don't chew me out in the comment section about it, but the smell. In the summertime, Boston can get, in certain areas, can get a pretty nasty smell, whether it's coming from the sewers. There is a homeless problem going on in Boston, not as bad as some other places, but there's going to be, in any major metropolitan area, you're going to see homeless people. Boston is on the water, so you're going to get some of that putrefaction smell coming from the water.
Putrefaction.
It can get pretty intense in the summertime. So if you're fairly sensitive to smells, just be aware of that. That's a possibility. Going into our fourth pro is one of my favorite things, and it's food. I tell you, if I wasn't a realtor, I'd be a food blogger, because I just love trying new foods, spicy, sweet, whatever it is. Boston has it. The cultures that have come to Boston, it's a port city, so you're going to get everything from everywhere. I'm Portuguese myself, so I love some good Portuguese food, which Boston has and the surrounding area has. But anything that you can possibly imagine, you're going to be able to find it in Boston or the surrounding areas. And on top of that, if you're into Italian foods, you got to check out the North End. You're going to find some of the best Italian restaurants, pastries, the cannolis there, man, I'm telling you. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You just can't beat it. Now, rounding off our last con of the day is going to be a sensitive subject to a few. It's the opioid epidemic. Since 2013 and 2016, they've seen an increase biannually about 14%. But since 2016, they've seen a steady decrease in about 2% biannually, which is good. In 2020, the numbers were able to drop below 2016 levels, which is a great thing. But honestly, I personally believe that the pandemic had something to do with that. People not able to get access to their addiction very well. And also, some of these folks will be more susceptible if they're in a group gaining access to these drugs, being exposed to the virus. So, they'd be in the hospital for X amount of time, hopefully getting help for the pandemic, but also, for their drug use as well. Now, rounding off our final pro is the higher education, the colleges that we have here. Private schools, you name it, we have it. We have Harvard.
I parked my car in Harvard yard,
We have MIT, Tufts, BU, Boston University, BC, Boston College. We have the Berkeley School of Music. We have medical schools. We have art schools. We have music schools. We have business schools. Whatever you're interested in, we have it. And some of the advantages of going to school in Boston is the surrounding companies being able to kind of cherry pick who they want out of those colleges, bring them right to work right where they were going to college. And those are some pros and cons about living in Boston. If you're thinking about moving here, relocating, staying, you gotta reach out to us however you want to, but you need to shoot us a text, give us a phone call, send an email, however you want to reach out, we got your back. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about my next video coming up. And until next time, I'll catch you later. If you want a bit more detail of the cost of living in Boston, Massachusetts, click on the card above. It's going to bring you to another video of mine that's going to be able to detail that a little bit more for you.